Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing some more year-end favorites. We are tackling my high-end favorites from the year of 2023. I was very selective, so there's not that many things in front of me compared to my drugstore video, but we're gonna go through them all today. I'm gonna show you guys what I really think was worth the higher end price tag this year. Can't wait to share them with you. Before we get into the makeup, I wanna give a special welcome to any of you that are new here. Thank you for stopping by today. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure that you subscribe to my channel before you leave and make sure your notification bell is turned on. And with that said, let's get right to it. All right, so we're gonna start off with a foundation. I don't have a new high-end primer for this year. I don't try out high-end primers very often. I like to find a couple that I like and then use them up. But I do have a new foundation to share with you guys. Just one that I think is worth the higher end price tag, and it is the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Foundation. Now this foundation is the highest coverage foundation I have ever tried. It almost beats the coverage of some of my concealers. I actually don't even feel like I need a concealer when I use this foundation. However, this is a heavier foundation and I don't actually like to apply it around my eyes where I have some fine lines because it can get a little bit heavy and cakey. So I have to be more careful when applying this, but if I really want a ton of coverage out of my foundation, this is the one that I have been loving lately. I generally like a more medium coverage foundation, but I've really been enjoying the high coverage that this one gives. It's so quick because I don't need to apply much concealer afterwards. I usually just put a little bit of concealer under my eyes and maybe on my eyelids, and then I'm good to go. It lasts all day long. It can settle into fine lines like on my forehead. I have one line like right here between my brows and then my smile lines. I just try to be a little bit more light-handed when I apply it here. So I'll usually concentrate the coverage when I'm applying it kind of in this area, kind of like right up here where I have some discoloration on my cheeks. And then I try to go in a little bit more lightly when I'm going around my mouth, on my forehead. But I've been really happy with it. I can see why some people might not like this because it is a kind of heavier, it's not a very natural looking foundation, but I do love that high coverage that it gives. For concealers, I have a couple to share. First off, the YSL All Hours concealer. I tried this out a few months ago, hoping to find another full coverage concealer because I thought that the Dior Forever Skin was going to be discontinued. It's actually not. They just kind of like repackaged it, I think. We'll talk about that one in just a sec. This one was not quite as high coverage as I was hoping it would be, as high as the Dior is, but it's awfully close. It's a little bit more lightweight, so it's not as heavy and cakey. If you felt like the Dior was a little bit too creamy and thick and cakey for you, you might like this one a little bit better. You get a ton of product inside here, even though it is higher end and a higher end price tag. You get 0.5 ounces, which is a lot of concealer. I love when a concealer gives you a lot of bang for your buck, and I feel like you get that with this one. So I've been very happy with this concealer. I do have one small complaint though. I do like the wand, but I find that it doesn't pick up a lot of product. Like it doesn't absorb much product, so I have to dip into it usually 2 or 3 times if I'm really needing to cover a lot. That's not that big of a deal. I just for some reason don't like to dip back into my product many times. The coverage of this is great. The color's been great. The formula is nice and lightweight, doesn't settle too heavily into fine lines and wrinkles, and it seems to stay put for a long time. I did want to mention again my Dior Forever Skin concealer. Now this is not a new concealer to me in 2023, but I did pick up another shade. I actually picked up a backup of this shade because this one's getting awfully close to being all gone, so I picked up another one of that shade, and then I also picked up 2W. This is 1W. I love having 2 shades of this concealer. You guys will probably know if you've been watching me for quite a while that this is one of my all-time favorite concealers, especially when it comes to something that is going to give me the highest amount of coverage possible. I love this concealer for that. It's one of the few concealers that covers up hyperpigmentation really well. So many concealers can't quite cover hyperpigmentation. It's just a really difficult thing. If you have it, you'll know what I'm talking about. It seems to just kind of peek through every product that you put on top of it. This is the best one that I found so far, especially if you apply it and kind of let it almost dry down for a couple of minutes before you blend it in. I am wearing this concealer on my face today. I actually have a mix of the 2 shades, and I love having 2 shades of really any concealer for that matter because I feel like you can customize and get the right shade where you need it. I usually do like using a darker shade kind of on the perimeter of my face and something just slightly lighter on the inner corner of my eye if I'm using it as an eye primer, and I can do that when I have 2 shades, which I love. Let's move into some bronzers. I have just a couple to share with you guys. First off, the Persona Dreamstick bronzer in the shade Mojave. I love this cream bronzer. It is probably one of the best bronzer shades if you have fair skin. So here's the shade of it. I am wearing on my cheeks today. It is so creamy. It blends like a dream. It wears well on me. I really love this concealer, and it has the perfect undertone that's not too warm or too cool. It's kind of right there in the middle, so you can warm up your skin with it and use it for a little bit of sculpting as well. It's stunning. It's such a great shade and formula of bronzer. I have been very happy with this one. And then the next one that I have been reaching for a lot is from the Tarte Glow Bar. Now, I actually don't love this whole bar. So you have I think a highlighter in here and then kind of a luminous setting powder here as well. I think they're kind of supposed to mimic the Hourglass setting or finishing powders. I don't dislike them. I just prefer a normal powder. I mean, honestly, I prefer my Rimmel Stay Matte $3 powder over these right here, but I love the bronzer that comes in this palette. It is the prettiest shade, the prettiest finish. It is a very warm bronzer, but it's not too orange for me. It looks really flattering. This is one that I have used a ton. I don't know if you guys can see the dent in here and just the mess that I've made of this side of this palette. I've been so happy with this. I've tried to do a little investigating to see if they sell this on its own. They do have some luminous bronzers, but I don't know that they're the same. Like the shades aren't exactly the same name, so I'm gonna have to go into a store to try and figure that out. But I had to mention it because I have used this so much this year. Clearly, it's been a favorite for me, even though I have some issues with this thing as a whole. I have a couple of high-end blushes to share with you guys. First off, the MAC Mineralize blushes. This one is in the shade Gentle, which is such a pretty color. Now, Berry Cheeks, the Essence Pure Nude Blush, is it's a close dupe for this one. They're not exact dupes, but they are quite close to each other. They actually look closer in the pan than they do when I swatch them. Why don't I just go ahead and do that, because how can I tease that and not do it? So here's Berry Cheeks. I actually feel like the MAC one is even a little bit more luminous, and it's a little bit more of like a Barbie pink than a berry pink. So there it is right there. But they're awfully close to each other. I still wanted to mention this one though, because I love MAC blushes in general, and I really like this formula. This is a newer formula to me. It's been around forever, but I have just only recently tried this. I have Warm Soul, which I also love. I actually think I like this shade a little bit better, especially for the winter time. I love kind of a cool pinky berry shade in the winter time. I just think it makes your cheeks look so healthy and beautiful. And they're not overly shiny. They don't have too much sheen in them that they're going to emphasize texture if you're a little bit older, if you have a lot of texture on your cheeks. They're just a really lovely formula that wears really well on my skin. Next up, we've got a couple of cream blushes I wanted to share. First off, this one from Persona. This is the Persona Dreamstick Blush in the shade Bloom. This came out, I think, back in the spring, and I love this shade. Now, if you guys thought that Bubble was a little too vibrant for you, but Teddy was a little bit too brown, this is like the perfect in-between shade. It's kind of a nude pink, but it's nice and light. It's a warmer nude pink. It looks stunning on the cheeks. It's such a fun color for the spring and the summertime. I love the Persona formula. They're very pigmented, so you don't need a lot of product, but they're so creamy, they blend out really well. And I think this might be one of my favorite shades that they've released yet. I also wanted to mention the Merit cream blushes. I just tried these out a few months ago, I think in October, and I instantly fell in love with these. I just tried out a mini set. So these two are permanent shades. I think this shade is not a permanent shade. This is actually the shade that I'm wearing on my cheeks today. It's a beautiful red. It's a lot like Kiss from Persona. Now these are just slightly more sheer in color than the Persona ones are. The formulas kind of remind me of each other. They're a nice balmy formula, but they're not too sticky on your cheeks. But these ones go on a little bit more sheerly. I love them. I think they're gorgeous. This is such a fun color for any time, for the winter time in particular. I love this shade right here, the shade Fox. I always love these kind of like brownish nude shades. This is so pretty. It's probably one that I've worn the most over the last couple months. And then this shade, Beverly Hills, is a beautiful nude. If you're into just basic nude shades of blush, this is a perfect nude, I think, for anyone that has a medium to fair skin tone. Love the formula of these. I think they are so great. I know they've been around forever. I don't know what took me so long to try these out, but I'm happy that I finally did. Okay, so I don't have any single highlighters that are new from 2023 to share with you guys, new high-end ones, but I do have a face palette that definitely deserves a mention, and it is the Luminous Light palette from Sydney Grace. I have the light version. They sent this to me back in the spring, and I'm so glad that they did. Honestly, I probably would have ended up buying this myself if I hadn't been sent this product, but it is gorgeous. Now, I've been a fan of their face powders that I know. I mean, Sydney Grace is an indie brand. They're a little bit more unknown or underrated, and they're definitely more known for their eyeshadows, I would say, but their face powders are very underrated. They are fantastic. I have some single blushes, bronzers, and highlighters from them that I absolutely love, and this palette is perfectly done. You get two perfect shades of blush, one that's cooler, one that's a warmer, deeper pink. Then you get a perfect bronzer that's the perfect shade between warm and cold that you guys know I love so much, and a really nice champagne highlighter. This is the highlighter that I am wearing on my cheeks today. It is blinding if you layer it up, but it's not over the top if you use a light hand. It's a perfect highlighter. Such great formulas, a great color story, and I use every single thing inside here. And I love that with a face palette, when they nail every shade and there's not one shade that you're like, that one doesn't really work for me. I believe they make a light, a medium, and a deep. I will link the website down below so you guys can go check them out, but I highly recommend them if you haven't tried out the Sydney Grace face powders. They are amazing. Speaking of Sydney Grace, had to mention this. This is the Mad For You Brows Powder Brow Palette. I have the shade Soft Brown, or the palette in Soft Brown. You guys, I have been so obsessed with powdered brows for the last, it's really like 6 months. It's been a while. I've had this for quite a while, and I have used the heck out of this. I don't know if you guys can see how dented and like crumbly and messy this shade right here is, because I use this shade the most. Now I can actually use all 4 of these shades. This one is way too warm for me, so I'll probably never end up using that shade. That's the only downside, but honestly it doesn't bother me that much because these work so well for me. I absolutely love them. You definitely need a good brush, which can be tricky to find. I have this Sephora brow brush. I actually have 2 versions of it here. I like this older version than I do the new one, but they both work really well. They have a good spoolie on them. I've just been loving a powdered brow. I think I get a little bit more precision with a powdered brow than I do with just a slim brow pencil. It's been my go-to way of doing my brows for a while now. One more brow product I wanted to mention, and it's the Refi Brow Gel. I considered not mentioning this brow gel because I think I like the NYX The Glue Brow Gel just as much as I like this one, and that one's significantly cheaper. But I have used this one a lot since I tried it out in the summertime. I do like it. I actually think this one's not quite as messy as the NYX one is. That one you have to make sure that you get the excess off of the brush, otherwise it gets too messy and gloopy. I also think this shade I have, which is medium brown, is a little bit cooler of a brown shade than the NYX one, but I like them both. They're kind of a tinted but semi-sheer brow gel formula. A little bit on the thicker, more gel-like side. It kind of reminds me of like a hair gel. They work really well in my very stubborn brows that don't like to stay upright. So if you don't mind spending a little bit more, you want a really good spoolie, this is one that I have been enjoying a lot. All right guys, we are getting awfully close. I have a couple of mascaras to share with you. First off, the Tower 28. Now I know this I tried out last year in 2022, but 2023 is the year that I really fell in love with this mascara. It is my very favorite mascara. It's the perfect mix of giving me volume, length, and curl, but not being clumpy. It's just a really good, easy mascara to use. It wears really well on me. I wouldn't say it's like super water resistant, but it does give me moderate water resistance. And I just love it. It always looks so good in my lashes. I am wearing some fake lashes today, so this is not really representative solely of the mascara, but it's definitely been my most loved mascara in 2023. However, another one that I have really come to love is the Cali Ray Come Hell or High Water mascara. I think I talked about this one in 2022 as well, but again, this is kind of the year that I really gravitated toward this, to the point that I now own 3 of these minis. And I wanted to shout this out. If you guys place orders with Sephora, this mini Cali Ray I often see, I think it's for 250 points. So if it's there, I'll usually get another one with my order, spend my points on this mascara. I think it's great. It doesn't remove in the way that the Thrive Cosmetics mascara does. If you've tried that one, it's a little bit more difficult to remove, but it's also very water resistant. In fact, I'd say it's more water resistant than the Tower 28, but you can remove it with warm water and soap. It also does great things for my lashes, gives me really good volume, length, and curl. It's not overly clumpy. It is a little bit more clumpy than the Tower 28, but I've really enjoyed it. So much so that I now have 2 on backup, which I think is saying something. Okay, last but not least, let's get into some lip products, starting with some lip liners. I know that looks like a lot more than it actually is. So those are just 2 different lip liner brands I want to share with you guys. Let's start with this one right here. The Buxom Power Line lip liners. I picked these up during the last Ulta 21 Days of Beauty, so I was able to get these at, I think it was at half price. I've been so happy with these, you guys. The reason I think I love these so much is not even the lip liner itself, which is very, very good. Both color and formula, they're nice and long wearing, they're good. Nude shades. I have 2 shades. I have the shade Dangerous Dolly, and then this more like peachy shade is Hush Hush Henna. Now on my lips, I actually don't think these shades look that different. I kind of like throw them in my bag interchangeably. So there we have the Dolly shade, there's Hush Hush Henna. You can see they're like not that different from each other, but they're both great nudes. I like them both, but what I love so much about this lip liner is this brush right here. I had never thought to use a brush with a lip liner And you certainly could do this with just a standard lip liner brush or like even like a concealer type smaller brush. But this is a really good brush. It's the perfect combination of stiff and flexible to where you get so much control in blending out your lip liner. I usually just smudge my lip liner out with my finger, but I'm telling you guys, if you use this brush, you'll get a lot more control over the shape of your lip liner. And if you're working with one that is long wearing, that is invaluable. You'll have really good shape and color to your lips for hours and hours. Totally worth trying this out. Honestly, just for the brush alone, which sounds crazy, but the lip liner itself is also very good. And then I had to mention my About Face lip liners. I've slowly been collecting these over the last year or maybe a little bit longer than a year. I love this lip liner formula. It is very long wearing once it sets in. They come in such great shades. These are mostly all nudes. I am wearing this shade on my lips today. This is the shade Talking Backwards. It's more of like a corally kind of brighter pink than I typically reach for, but I love it. I think it's super, super pretty. These shades right here are more neutrals. Because there are so many, I will insert a close-up for you guys right here with the shade names on them so you can see how they compare to each other. Honestly, I love them all. Probably my very favorite, most used shade would have to be Midnight Seduction. This one's quite deep, but I love a good deep lip liner to overline my lips just a little bit and then top it off with a gloss. And I feel like it makes my lips a lot more full, especially if you do a good blend. And that's a great shade to do that with. So highly recommend these. They're probably one of my favorite, most reach for lip liners. I use them all the time. And they're not that expensive. I consider them high end because they're kind of a celebrity makeup brand. This is Halsey's makeup brand. And they are a little more expensive. I think full price or retail prices are $12 a piece, but even that is not as expensive as something like the Buxom. So you get pretty good value for these being high end as well. We're down to my last thing. You guys might be able to guess what it is. It's a lip gloss, and it is by far my most used lip gloss of the year, and it's the Lawless Forget the Filler lip gloss in the shade Glazed. I'm obsessed with this gloss. It comes everywhere with me. I'm constantly pulling it back. In fact, I need to get another one of this exact same shade so I can leave one in my purse and leave one down here at my makeup desk, because it's not often that I want to use something so much that if it's up in my purse, I won't just find something else that I can use instead. Like, I will actually stop recording, go up to my purse and get it. I don't do that very often for makeup products, but this one I just love so much. It's already half gone. I mean, that's how much I've used this. I'm usually a little bit more strict with how often I'll use my higher end like lip glosses because I don't want them to run out. I'll kind of save them for special occasions, but not this one. I just love it so much. It makes my lips look so beautiful. It has this perfect pearly sheen to it. Let me just put a little bit more on my lips so you guys can see. You really don't need very much of it. A little bit goes a long way, but it gives you this pretty, just bright, shiny finish that's not glittery, but it gives you this brightening pearly sheen that makes your lips look nice and plump. It is a little bit on the sticky side, but I don't mind that. It lasts really well. Now, it is supposed to be a plumping gloss. It does have a very subtle plumping effect, but it's not that strong. Truly, if I had to crown one thing as like the high-end winner of the year, I think it would probably be the Lawless Gloss. And that, you guys, is everything. Those are my favorite high-end makeup products from the year 2023. What did you guys think? What was your favorite high-end discovery from this last year? Let me know down in the comments below. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Stay tuned. I do have my year-end eyeshadow palette video coming your way, so if that sounds interesting, make sure that you are subscribed to my channel before you leave and that your notifications are turned on. But that is gonna do it for today. Thank you guys again for watching. I hope you guys are doing well, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.